Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie, and today I'm joined by Ken Madrigal, Senior Director of Unified Customer Experience Management and Best Practice Group at Sprinklr. Ken, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for having me, Charlie.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have you join us, and I'm excited to be recording this video for the CX Today Marketplace. And we're going to be focusing on the fundamentals of CCaaS. So to kick us off, I think let's perhaps start with the most fundamental question, which is simply, what is CCaaS?
So what is CCaaS? Well, it's a loaded term, acronym, or phrase, however you want to put it, but it's really contact center as a service, and it's the strategy, practice, process, and platform or technology of how you are servicing your customers for customer care and also sales support. It really stemmed specifically beginning with how companies used voice to help customers out, on the phone, but as digital has arisen in its different forms, starting with email, then you had chat, then you had messaging, then social came on board, and then now you've had a whole slew of things that have been blurring the lines, like different types of apps that do messaging and social. There's community, and there's also extended ways that other types of platforms like search or pieces of social have now really complicated the spectrum of it. So trying to corral all of that into a place where that a company can have a single source and point to reach out to customers, and customers don't have to worry about where they're entering in, but you still can meet them where they want to be.
Absolutely, I think that's a great description, considering CCaaS industry is becoming harder and harder to define, really, with
Mhm.
those kind of those old school boundaries between CRM, UCaaS, and also kind of social listings, voice of the customer space. It's still kind of blurring. So I think that's a really great description for us. Um, Maybe now refocusing back towards kind of the contact center as we know it. How do you think CCaaS is an evolution of what we had before on premise?
Well, I mean, most CCaaS, of course, is like based in, in the cloud. So it's scalable across the internet to browsers, right? And that's an evolution from on-prem because for very good reasons in the past, mostly control reasons, right? Companies wanted to maintain everything local from a technology standpoint, resident to the company using it. So the data, the infrastructure, the servers, even right down to loading the software specifically on laptops was all on-prem. And that was reasons for, levels of security, stability, overall controls, really trying to minimize any type of disruption from any external influence that was out there was a reason for what was happening with having an on-prem solution. In today's world, as we think about it, um, our customers operate within the internet and the bounds not always restricted to a particular piece of hardware. So as things have been evolving from on-prem, we've got to think about like how do you be more scalable, and that's the idea of moving to CCaaS that's out in the cloud.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. There's the cloud revolution, and now there's the AI revolution, which Sprinkler are definitely at the part of, and how much more accessible the cloud is making all those AI technologies. I know conversational AI is another area increasingly coming over CCaaS. So I think that's a very important benefit of CCaaS alongside kind of the ease of integration, scalability, and all those things. Um, and now, kind of, yeah, maybe focusing on another important area of the CCaaS space, and that is migrating from on-premise to CCaaS. What do you think a business should consider before making that move?
The biggest thing here is this idea of effort, cost, disruption, and risk mitigation, right? Again, some of the key reasons why you were on-prem and like how do you maintain that from a strategy and policy standpoint, making sure the things that you have from a customer, trust is still in place when you're doing it. And those are all the risk mitigation factors that you're trying to put in place so that a customer has a solid, stable way that they're reaching out to you, and you're able to again create a solution for them for what they're asking for. But I think on the other side of it, as you consider moving from on-prem to a cloud solution that's there, you also have to think about the opportunity that you're getting there. You're also talking about the innovation that's going to happen as well as the savings. Again, when you were on-prem, being self-contained, it was controls around the release that would happen with a particular set of code, right? Or introducing new functionality that was there. But a lot of that, again, was tend to be, evaluated and stem from the company itself. Now that you're, now that you go to a cloud solution, you have the access to what other potential clients that are operating within the same software are innovating on and adding to it, and being able to scale very quickly to add that functionality to yours if it makes sense, and do it in such a way that it's like less disruptive. It happens in a central location and scaled out, via the internet versus trying to, separately load it browser to browser to browser. So the infrastructure and the capital costs will go down there. And again, you'll get those savings that are there, and you'll hopefully get that innovation and the opportunity to use things that you haven't had in the past. So it's a very good way to think about a different way to think about scalability, right? As you're trying to do that, and you're reaching out for a partner that's doing, CCaaS that meets those needs that are there. Especially again, when I think about the things that are happening from a environment around how we're servicing customers today. I'd mentioned that it has grown from voice, and then, some basic emails that we were doing before. And now with messaging, social, and all the blurred lines around apps and community, those platforms that aren't resident, again, to a particular company, they're third party owned and controlled. They're innovating so quickly. How are you going to keep up with the functionality that is happening at that rate, right? So that idea of moving to CCaaS to keep up with that, not to mention that there is a new channel that is going to pop up any minute. You have to, scale towards, right? I can just remember just very recently, I think all of us realized that something like TikTok was a novelty at first, and then it's scalability that happened as it caught fire. And now how are you incorporating that into the way that you're responding to customers? So again, all those great reasons when you're actually thinking about what you should do as a business, consider a move to a different type of vendor that you're using from a more traditional way that you're, managing your contact center.
Yeah, I think there's lots of really great stuff in there, and I think it's important for contact centers to understand too that there's within various CCaaS providers there are different levels of scalability. As you said, now with the new wave of entrants like Sprinklr, although you've been around for more than a year now, they are built on cloud native platforms, which means that they can innovate a bit more faster than some of those vendors that first hit the market, which very much kind of built these big monolithic stacks, which makes them less agile, and they can't add those channels, the new wave channels and things that you were talking about there. And just kind of building on from that point, so scalability and kind of cloud native too, what else do you think a contact center should look for from a CCaaS partner?
I also think about it, I mentioned earlier when you think about contact center as a service, right? I didn't just mention the platform itself. I also mentioned the other kind of key components to it, that there's a strategy there, there's a partnership there, as well as, it manages towards the people in the process that are all internal that is happening. And you need somebody that is actually looking at all those components. Again, as things have evolved, the connection points that are there make it not just contact center. There are so many things that you're incorporating, integrating with all the different parts of your business. And also, the one thing we've been talking, Charlie, you and I, really exclusively about what's happening internally with the company. You also have to think about the platform, because at the end of the day, it's customer experience management. So a very key term that Sprinklr is coining, to really put its sweet spot in. But at the end of the day, it's what the customer feels about you. So you have to look for a platform today that just doesn't allow itself to live in the contact center world, right? You have to think about the overall experience that the customer is going to feel and connect with you to build loyalty, brand affinity, and that overall experience that, they got something of a white glove experience as even part of the technology of how they're interacting with you. So I think, those key things about looking for someone that can evolve, and look towards, hey, yes, great, there's contact center, but there's also the experience management that really talks about it from managing things from both an internal standpoint and then also what the customer at the end of the day is incorporating and having less effort to work with you so that they get the maximum amount of success and actually, engagement that's there. One more point to that. I think the other thing, as we're balancing both external and internal, we're talking about it. There is a huge people component internal that makes a contact center run, from the agents to the supervisors to leadership that's there. I think when you think about a platform and you think about a provider that's there, you also have to, manage what's happening from an experience that's happening at every level within the organization, whether it be the agent having all the tools to be successful at what they need to do with their job, right? And having to measure it in the most equitable way, as well as what governance and what oversight that supervisors can provide, what training is there to help up level everyone so that they're operating at the highest capacity, as well as, again, the other thing you had mentioned earlier about it, when you're looking at a provider in today's like chaos of all the things that are happening, all these different point solutions, all the different channels that are coming in to you, that's all now unstructured information. So I think one of the kind of key things that Sprinklr provides, as well as what you look for in a partner, is that ability to use artificial intelligence or AI, to manage all of that, to make some sense out of all the unstructured information that's coming out of there, because that's the world that we're living in. It's pure verbatim and conversation. There's a lot of intuitive talking that happens. But I also believe that, when you look at, the information that's there, you have to put it in a way that actually changes the way that you tell your story because of all of the evolution that's happening with information that's coming at you. So I think, again, those are strategic reasons of what you look for with a partner versus just the pure technology piece of it. Again, scalability, the ability to manage the security that you need, the nimbleness and being agile to adapt to channels that are rising and changing their functionality are all kind of key reasons that are there for what you're looking for in a partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it's very much working with a provider that can help contact center be more proactive almost. I mean, contact centers historically have been a very reactive function and have almost been stopped from being more proactive due to the constant firefighting that happens within a contact center. Yet, if they understand more of the customer experience, they can perhaps isolate the issues that are causing all those contacts, and then they can tackle those more systematically. And where a lot of those issues are, customers may be telling the contact center. I think through social media is a really good example of where contact centers can possibly find where a lot of their problems are stemming from. Do you think, I know Sprinklr is well known as a social for its social suite across the globe, but do you think this relationship between CCaaS and social media, why is that important for a contact center to consider?
Yeah, I mean, there's this huge intersection that's happening. And again, that's why I'm talking about you really got to think about it as, experience management because the lines are so blurred where traditional CCaaS was always behind the firewall. When social and community were now introduced to customers as an avenue to reach a brand, right? And all of the other pieces there, it became such a different type of interaction that was occurring. Now companies and brands are operating within the public theater, right? There are less controls that are out there related to third-party apps, especially of how those third-party apps are being, evolved, and also trying to be in all those different third-party apps with all their functionality. And then when you're talking about it, again, the blurring of the lines, of course, all of the social media companies now have private conversations incorporated to their functionality as well as the public ones there. So how do you, again, work through a journey where you're going in and out of different types of experiences that are viewable and then secure, right? So you've got to think about like how you can actually maneuver within that. Because now that is also a lot of the customer's channel of choice, right? It's not just, hey, we're just going to go to one selective place. These are the channel of choices that you have to operate in. So, evolving to being able to manage more traditional ways that are things that are behind a particular type of mask, right, that's out there. And then also being able to operate in a place where There is a lot of viewable and visibility onto what you do. It creates a higher level and a higher standard of delivery that you have to do both from a practice standpoint as well as a platform technology standpoint. So again, you need a system to help manage a lot of that has all of the controls that you have that you didn't exactly incorporate before that were in more traditional CCaaS providers.
Yeah, I think there's lots of really good stuff there, and it makes me think of maybe where is the CCaaS space heading? We've spoken a lot about things that are traditionally maybe outside of the contact center's remit, but what could you maybe provide an example of what an excellent digital CCaaS experience may look like in the future?
Yeah, and I think it's a truly a big umbrella of the experience itself. We always have a term at Sprinklr that says, the first best care is no care at all. So I think, and you'd mentioned it before, Charlie, is like you're looking for insights up front. So you have to have a system up front that is actually being able to mine in real time what's going on for what's drivers for the issues and the needs of your customer. It might not even be something that is wrong all the time. It might be something positive. So you have to be able to identify both the positive and the challenging things that customers face up front so that you're able to apply solutions that are there, which doesn't require them to reach out to you, or it requires another resource to help manage it. So that the first solution is no care at all, is using insights and having intelligence that's there. I think the next piece of the stage, when you're talking about like an ideal experience for a customer as they reach out through the contact center, is like being very intentional for the channel that the customer knows they're going to get the best probability of success with. We talk about being proactive, but that also means having a connection with marketing. Very counterculture of what's out there today, because a lot of service departments don't actually integrate with their marketing departments. But you need a way to message out to your customers in a proactive way so that they can actually know what channel is going to give them the best form of success. This idea these days of like next available agent, that's a very generational one way of looking of how to support your customer. These days, it is the highest probability of giving the customer the best success to make their solution there, but also give them the highest probability of the greatest experience that connects them to the brand. So you have to think in those terms when you're actually trying to bring somebody in as somebody's looking for you, instead of just, I'm going to round robin them to the next agent. So that's stage number 2. Eventually, of course, as they're reaching out to you, if the proactive hasn't been there to stem that, they're going to actually, connect with you in some way, shape, or form. And again, because of the growing volume, you would think with everything that's out there, as many solutions, the volume of the way that folks reach out to brands would actually decrease. But no, it's always increasing because the products are being more complex. The solutions are being more complex. They're more innovative, and you have to get more help when you create different types of products that are incredibly innovative. So as folks reach out to you, again, using AI to manage what that intentional reach is. It could be an automated response, right? It could be a bot that's there trying to make it very human, very connected, not so robotic. And I think the other thing when you think about like an ideal, connection there is, as we're going through, as they happen to outreach, if they reach to an automated response, they're not getting exactly what they want from an answer. It will eventually have to scale to, a different type of, interaction, probably an agent that's there. But that might even happen over different channels. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen where, somebody reaches out, they get an automated response either through the IVR on the telephone, or they're trying to do it in chat. Either something happens and they have to go and take care of something from a personal standpoint and go to lunch, but they stop at that point, and they have to move along a spectrum of different types of journey points as they're interacting with the brand. So also, again, as you look to somebody that is providing you this in an ideal way, they have to know the handoffs that are occurring there. I think the toughest question that a customer always feels are the ones that they get repeated back to them that they had already said an answer towards. So having a system and a way that we're looking at a way to do handoffs in a very seamless way so that you're managing the white glove that it's occurring as it goes through a different channel to a different agent, right? And making sure that that's happening in a real seamless asynchronous way, because that's the way we operate today. It's not all in one stream conversation. It's happening on multiple channels at multiple time frames, and being able to stitch that together so that again, you're managing the frustration of either what was wrong or the information that they need when they're looking at it, and you're doing it in such a way that you're taking into account where they are in those journey touch points is critical today as part of what's going on. So kind of to cap the experience itself, as I've been talking about this, let's say you get them and you're able to answer their question. Again, finding it and routing it, again, not to the next available person, but to the next available place and person or experience. It gives them the highest success and experience themselves, right? I think at that point, as you look to measure it, right? How are you using a different way to measure it? Often most companies are using surveys, right? But that's a post-conversation measurement. And when you're doing a post-conversation measurement, you might be at a point where the customer's still in a frustration level. So having real time, again, going back to the AI, having the ability to do real time journey measurement that's there so that you might have to do some risk mitigation in the conversation or escalate it to somebody that has a specialty. So a customer doesn't leave you upset when you could take care of it then and there just to fill out a survey later, right? You don't want them to tell you that they didn't get the satisfaction post that. You want to try to catch it right then and there. And at the end, they're trying to get a more satisfactory thing. So, measuring it properly to catch it and manage it there is key, using AI to capture that as well. And I think, the final part of that is after you've given them, hopefully a great experience when it comes to care, you celebrate that a bit. You have this ability to, what we always say, you want to win the right to engage again and again and again. So you want to leave them with an impression that is so positive that, hey, if there is a follow-up for either checking in back with them to make sure that everything's running properly, or there might be a particular celebratory way that says, hey, I want to honor you for being a customer for these 10 years. You're building equity with them. Or even better, as an extended piece there, maybe there's an offer that you can think that would bring them benefit based upon what they have, purchased with you. So, using all of that experience to build up to this part where you win the right to engage them again. All right. And then again, that's almost like a way to retarget them, to bring them back to the beginning and to the fold of, like, again, starting at, hey, we've got them to purchase something and maybe they need to get support again. So again, starting that cycle all over again, but doing it in a way that builds towards it so that you've done that.
Yeah, excellent. Again, lots of really good stuff there. You can tell how passionate you are about this topic, which is great. But I love kind of where we started too, in terms of, first of all, the best care is no care, as you said, and then it's about being more intentional about how you guide a customer's experience, understanding their intent, understanding their touch point, and using that to guide them to the right channel and to the right agent to deliver the best outcomes, and then to celebrate those afterwards in a way that helps to win more business in the future. I think that's quite a compelling picture for the future CCaaS experience.
Yeah.
I think my
If I could interject, Charlie, one of the things that, again, I know that a lot of service, professionals and leaders do is they're trying to, generate value and not be looked at as a cost center, right? And that is kind of the first lead into that. As you build a way to create value, it's really this idea of like winning that right to there. But on top of that, there are other types of value that you have to look at, right? That the contact center and the platforms that are there can help with. Whether, again, earlier to build insight and doing outreach to different departments like go to market or go to channel to help with their strategy. So those insights are a deliverable that's there. Again, when you think about customer retention, it isn't just, hey, we're going to, solve a problem for you and that's going to keep them there, right? You've got to do more than that when it comes to retention. You've got to expose additional value of what your product does so that when it comes time to either rebuy or renew, it's a formality to the customer because they felt that, hey, they've done everything in their power to expose every bit of value that's come with this particular product, and it's happening in care where they have a one-on-one audience, right? So, I mean, there are different ways to measure value beyond just, I'm going to sell you something. And building that equity to have a connected partner. We all want ambassadors and fans of our brands. So that in itself is a value too that you're adding. So, how do you able to incorporate that as part of your strategy, and how do you measure it too? Mm-hmm.
Mm. I really, yeah, it's something I've not really considered, but I think that's really enlightening in terms of how you sell the benefits that you're currently giving customers instead of having them focus on what goes wrong, having them see almost as well what extra value they are getting from working with you, say, than with another doing business. Sorry, with another company. So I think again, yeah, that's really great, and I think a lot of people will understand the tangible benefits of that experience that we've been discussing, but I'm sure they'll also understand maybe some of the hurdles to reaching that that vision. Sorry. How do you think? How are Sprinkler helping to solve some of those challenges that that contact centers might be worried of?
Yeah, there's different ways and different like levels of what Sprinkler is bringing to the table, to help manage this. I think the first thing is that we were talking about like the chaos that happens with managing different ways to get to a brand and get assistance. Yeah, Sprinkler was built on an AI based platform. It's not something that they had to bolt on. So it's in its DNA on to how to manage all of the unstructured channels that are out there and all the unstructured conversations and make sense out of them and put it in a way that you have an operational platform that is routing things to, again, to the best, highest probable of success of what you want. Either if you're trying to solve somebody's problem or you're trying to build a great experience for them. I think a great thing is that everybody's on a different version of what we call customer experience management. Some folks are just in a vertical way of they're just looking at care and they're trying to unify voice, chat, messaging, social, and community into one operating way. And that's a singular way that you're just trying to do customer experience management. Other folks are looking at it more broadly, right? I want to take care and marketing, and I want to connect those two together because one's the intake valve and the other one's the support piece of it. So how do we make them operate in a more seamless way? Because there's always been a tension between that. How do you get rid of that tension and make it, a greater benefit for your customer? Other folks look about like, I want to migrate off of surveys, or I want to do something more than surveys to get the experience from an insight standpoint. How do I incorporate that with care, in a seamless way? Because hey, if I'm working with a high value customer in care, it's kind of unbeknownst to how you're measuring it. It doesn't come in like that because the systems aren't talking. So Sprinkler is actually integrating and actually writing those different types of use cases. It's the one platform that takes the research of what you do to find a customer, applying it with marketing functionality to acquire a customer, then of course the care piece of it to support the customer, and then also have the analytics and the way to look to measure things, not just surveys, which are there, but also real-time journey measurement that's there to measure the experience. And then on the other side, when you build loyalty, just as I was saying, all the things that you're trying to do from mechanisms to reach out to them, to build that equity, and then support loyalty programs to get that retention, expose that additional value. So, when I think about the evolution of just CCaaS from a particular place in the journey with the customer and the support piece of it, Sprinkler incorporates all those elements from the beginning to the end, as well as the middle where you're caring for them to make that one seamless connection. So it's an evolution of how you interconnect that. Again, trying to support at a high level of how you support customers for sure and get them the resolution what they need. But I think all of us realize, and I was mentioning it earlier, you can't disconnect yourself from marketing, especially if you're trying to communicate with your customers to inform them and market, or create a campaign of telling them what is the best place for them to get the easiest bit of help for the issue that they have and educating them up front. So, I think that's, how, Sprinkler is meeting the need for traditional CCaaS, but it's also extending out there to create more of a customer experience management approach to, how you have to look at a thing in a fully threaded way.
Now, I think lots of people watching this video will be excited by the vision that you've set out for the future contact center, but there may be some service operations that feel as though they are very far away from that. How is Sprinklr helping to meet contact centers where they currently are?
So that's a great added question there, Charlie, because um, Sprinklr, as I mentioned earlier, isn't just a platform; it's a strategic partner. And what is always essential is that you're not trying to overstep where a particular company is in their maturity of what they're trying to do. Everybody's trying to consolidate systems. They're trying to make a more seamless effort for their customers that are out there. And within Sprinklr, they operate where the customer is. We have several tools that allow us up front to understand where you are in that journey, from maturity assessments to journey mapping, to make sure that the fit is right for what it is. So if a customer is all about just connecting channels across email and voice and messaging, and that is where the extent of what there is, then we'll give them the optimal solution for what that is, with also the ability to look forward, right, and have that capability to go forward as well. So it's not holding you back, but it's giving you this opportunity to build what you need at the time, and then look towards the future, so that those capabilities and that vision can be something that you can plan for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure for many contact centers, as I said earlier, that will be a very exciting proposition. I mean, still to this day, marketing will release the campaign, not tell the contact center, and then they have a huge influx of calls and contacts through various channels, which they struggle to handle because they didn't forecast for it. And I mean, just by bringing every department beyond marketing as well, I'm sure it's creative, research and development teams, product design teams. Yeah, there's so much. There's such an exciting possibility, I think, for contact centers. But we could talk about this all day. We've certainly come a long way from the first question of what is CCaaS. But I think it's been a very enlightening conversation. So thank you very much for joining me today, Ken.
Yeah, thank you very much, Charlie. I appreciate the time.
Excellent. And also, thank you to everybody for watching. Bye for now.